You hear about data breaches and hacks all the time, right? But have you ever wondered what's really going on behind the scenes?
Well, today we're going to pull that curtain back. We're going to break down the threats, the weak spots, and most importantly, how all of it comes together to create what we call digital risk. So let's get right into it. Okay, so let's start with a little riddle. What do a hurricane and a hacker have in common? I know, it sounds kind of like the setup to a bad joke, but I promise you the answer to this question is the key to understanding, well, pretty much everything we're about to talk about. We'll come back to it. So before we dive into all the scary stuff, the hackers, the malware, all of that, we kind of have to take a step back and ask a more fundamental question. What are we actually trying to protect in the first place? What's the end goal here? Well, at the very heart of all cybersecurity, you'll find these three core principles. It's known as the CIA triad, and the easiest way to get your head around it is to just think about securing your own house. First up, confidentiality. That's just keeping your secrets secret, making sure no one's looking through your windows. Then you've got integrity. That's making sure nobody breaks in and, messes with your stuff or changes things around. And finally, availability. This one's simple. It means you can get into your own house whenever you need to. So you want your information to stay secret, to stay accurate, and to be there for you when you need it. That's it. All right, so now we know what we're trying to protect, so let's talk about how things actually go wrong. A security problem isn't just a bolt of lightning from a clear sky. It's more like a recipe, and it always needs two very specific ingredients. So, ingredient number one is a threat. And a threat is really just anything, any circumstance or event that has the potential to cause harm. And this is where we finally answer our riddle from the beginning. A hurricane is a threat to a building full of servers. A hacker is a threat to your online banking. See? They're both external forces that could, potentially, ruin your day. And these threats really come in two main flavors. On one hand, you've got your natural events, things like fires, floods, earthquakes, things that can physically destroy computer systems. And on the other hand, you have human actions, which is, well, pretty much everything else. And when we talk about things people do, it's not always some villain in a dark hoodie, right? Sure, you have the deliberate malicious stuff, but you also have purely accidental mistakes. I mean, remember that G20 summit where an organizer accidentally emailed the passport details of world leaders to the wrong list of people? Just, oops, no evil intent there, but the damage? Oh, it was very, very real. And that brings us to our second key ingredient, a vulnerability. You can think of a vulnerability as just a weakness. It's an unlocked window that a burglar, our threat, might be looking for. Because here's the crucial part. A threat, on its own, is totally powerless if there's no vulnerability for it to take advantage of. And what you've really got to understand is that vulnerabilities aren't just about buggy software code. They're literally everywhere. They can be in our property, like an old computer that hasn't been updated in years. They can be in people. That's us, right? When we're tired or distracted and we click on a sketchy link. And they can even be in our procedures, like a company that just never really has a good plan for backing up its important data. Okay, so we've got our two ingredients. We have a threat and we have a vulnerability. So what happens when they finally meet? Well, this is the moment. This is when the potential for harm becomes actual harm. When those two things collide, we call that a security incident. Now, if somebody deliberately takes advantage of that weakness, if a hacker purposely climbs through that unlocked window we talked about, that's when we call it an attack. But it's so important to remember that accidental incidents, like that G20 email leak, can be just as damaging. And here's where it gets really frightening, because it's almost never just one isolated event. It's a domino effect. Just look at this chain of events here. It all starts with one tiny vulnerability, a database that wasn't set up correctly. An attacker, the threat, finds it and steals a bunch of student information. But it doesn't stop there. Now, they use that info to create a super convincing phishing email. The new vulnerability, the student's trust. So a student clicks, and because they don't have antivirus software, that's another vulnerability, malware gets installed. That malware steals a password for a bank account that's only protected by that one password, the final vulnerability. And just like that, the money's gone. It's a perfect example of how one small crack can cause the whole thing to come crashing down. So with that whole chain reaction in mind, let's just do a quick field guide on a couple of the most common types of attacks that you're probably going to hear about. First up is the one you've definitely heard of, phishing. At its core, this is all about deception. It isn't an attack on your computer's programming, it's an attack on your programming, your brain. It preys on our human emotions, our trust, our fear, our sense of urgency, to trick us into doing something we really shouldn't. And you've seen this, I know you have. It's that classic email that tries to create a sense of panic.
your account is locked, or we've detected suspicious activity. They want you to react emotionally and click that link right now before the logical part of your brain has a chance to kick in and ask, wait a minute, is this real?
Next on our list is ransomware, and this stuff is just nasty. It's malware that gets into your computer and locks up all of your files, encrypting them so they're completely useless to you. And then the attackers pop up and demand money to give you the key to get them back. So let me ask you, which one of our 3 CIA goals does ransomware attack? If you said availability, you are absolutely right. They are literally making your own data unavailable to you.
Phew! Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, from the goals of security all the way to some pretty scary types of attacks. So let's try to boil this all down to the single most important takeaway from all of this. Here it is, this simple formula. This is everything. Risk is not some vague, scary cloud just floating around out there. Risk is the direct result of a threat meeting a vulnerability. And honestly, this should feel empowering. Why? Because you usually can't control the threats. You can't stop hackers from trying or storms from happening, but you absolutely can control your vulnerabilities. You can lock your own digital windows.
So I want to leave you with this one question. As you think about your own digital life, your apps, your passwords, your email habits, what's the single biggest vulnerability, the one unlocked window that you can go and fix right now?